Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to the 82nd audio chat on the Q News Patriot Rumble channel series. I am the Q News Patriot, joined again with Patriot Freedom Warrior and medical homicide citizen expert Scott Schara. My name is SG Anon. For the audience out there, you'll recognize Mr. Schara from Our Amazing Grace and the story behind his late, beautiful daughter, Grace Schara. Grace was a victim of the hospital homicide complex in 2021, and Scott's mission from that point forward in life has been to educate, inform, and memorialize Grace's story and turn that immense parental anguish into remarkable direction, faith, and encouragement for humanity. It's an honor to have him back. We actually have a show calendared at the present date for early September, but with respect to some developments that have come up surrounding a movie called Vaxxed 3 and Grace's story and involvement in informing that movie, I felt it was important for us to get together prior to that September timeframe. Scott, it's an honor. Thank you for coming back.
Is mine, and it's called an expert, but after you have years of research into the medical industrial, you can't help but become SG.
Indeed, my friend, and I think that's the awakening. The spirit of the awakening worldwide is that we are reclaiming power over our own thoughts, our own minds, our own words, and our own deeds. And a great deal of that relies upon our perceptions and understandings of the world. And when we get that from a broader base that represents fundamentally much more of the truth that is out there, I think it does nothing but offer service to humanity. So fundamentally, before we get started, I do want to thank you for that. For the audience out there, it has grown since we've met last. We may be seeing some people, or some people might be meeting you, I guess I should say, for the first time. Do you mind to run us down through Grace's story really quick, Mr. Schara? Give us a summary of that for those that have not heard it before.
So Grace was my best buddy, and I am sharing this because I don't want this to happen to buddy, including my worst enemy. And what happened, I'm going to shine the light on me specifically first. I was programmed to trust the white coat. And when you start being programmed to something, you end up your critical thinking and fear takes over, and the opposite of trusting God. And my best buddy, Grace, is not here because of that fear. But what happened to her was in the fourth quarter of 2021, Grace was only 19 years old. Grace had Down syndrome. My research shows that she was targeted because she has Down syndrome. We won't drill that down today, at another time. But ultimately, on October 7th of 2021, because her oxygen saturation had dropped to 88%. That is not an emergency, but Grace just had a cold. But during this COVID, to get hospital murders up, create the fear porn to get the jab in everybody's arm. And 7 days later, Grace was dead. October 13th of 21 was her last day on earth. She was given a combination of meds, Precedex, lorazepam, and morphine, which is what are used to euthanize somebody in hospice care. That became legal, believe it or not, with Obamacare Section 1553. So those euthanizing meds, Precedex, lorazepam, and morphine, are contraindicated. They're not supposed to be used. They're used in hospice care, like I said, in the last hour of life. When it came time to revive Grace after they gave Grace the meds, the nursing staff refused and said they stood outside of Grace's room with a guard present and hollered back when we begged them to save Grace's life. They hollered back, "She's DNR." And as you know, SG, we have one of the very first lawsuits in the country. We have a jury trial set. And, because of that lawsuit, we've overlaid the medical records with the phone records with our contemporaneous notes. And we see that the doctor put an illegal do not resuscitate order on Grace's chart, simultaneous with hanging up the phone with my wife, Cindy, and I the morning of her last day, claiming Grace had such a good day. We should work on nutrition. We should work on getting her out of bed, all things with the promise that he gave us that she'll be out of the hospital in the next several days. Well, there was no intention of that at all. And she was dead several hours later that day. So that's the brief story. Thanks for letting me share.
Each time I hear your story, Scott, it just floors me in good and, unfun and unpleasant ways, of course. But fundamentally, what I have to appreciate about it is your ability and the ability of your wife and family to turn this experience into something that is a true service to humanity and a true service to we the people. In fact, so much so that Grace's story has now been tapped for inclusion in I believe it's a documentary or a docudrama discussing this very topic. Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
It's exciting. I hardly believe that I was interviewed for this movie. It's called Vax 3 Authorized to Kill. And they're using Children's Health Defense and the Vax symbolism because one and Vax 2 garnered so much support. Authorized to Kill, and then the subtitle I want you to see. Together, both the hospital murders that happened during COVID and during COVID. And then they tie it together to the bigger picture, because this really has nothing to do with COVID. COVID exposed evil. And until we see that there's a much bigger picture, you don't have an opportunity to, there is right now an all court press to get the country believing that this was a mistake. Well, this was not a mistake. It was planned, it was by design, and it was many, many, many decades in the process and programming to get us to this point. I was on an X Space the other night with the people from CHD, Polly Tommy, who is in charge of the entire media of CHD, Mary Holland, who's the president of CHD, and Brian Hooker, who's the chief officer of science of CHD. So we had Polly, the head of it. We had a JD and Mary, PhD and Brian, and a DAD with me, all on the Twitter space or X space. It was the first time I ever did that, SG. So I'm 61 years old, so this technology thing doesn't work well. But anyway, the reason I'm on today is because this film is coming to 200 theaters September 18th. However, there's a hook. August 18th, so we only have 2 days left. We've got to get people to buy tickets. 50% of the tickets have to be sold for this movie to be shown on September 18th. So we only have 2 days left. So August 18th is a real deadline. I went on this morning on the Find a Screen. So where I'm at in the Green Bay area, we still have 20 tickets to sell at the Green Bay Theater to be able to show the movie on September 18th. So you've got the map up right now. What you see is a map of the entire United States. And as you drill this down to your area, it will show you the theater that's closest to you. So where you're at, you got the whole United States. If you click on either the plus or minus button in the lower left-hand corner, up to you, SG. And all right, so now let's click on Bakersfield, California, for instance. And what you'll see, or yeah, there you go. So click that on. This is how you buy the tickets. It's very simple. You click on the theater first, then it says buy tickets. All right, so now you see in Bakersfield, they only have 7% of the tickets sold to the purchase. All right, so now you'll see the details relative. It'll pop up here just in a minute.
For the audience out there, we do apologize for some of the connection. I have a little bit of cyber interference.
Yeah, there we go. So do you see they have 4 tickets of 66 sold. Hopefully you can hear me say that. So you have the statistics. If you go all the way to reserve tickets, you'll get SG's credit card number. So I'm just kidding around, but yeah, it's very simple to do. I did it myself in Green Bay, and very simple. It takes you about a minute. This is a big time film. Nation. So this is, already awake, obviously, for you, but this is, people like going to film. So this is the film to take your family, friends, enemies to. So don't just buy a ticket for yourself and your wife, buy a couple extra ones and take somebody with you that's not as awake as you, because you really have an opportunity to wake somebody up. We all are responsible to do our part. That's what God says in the parable of the talents. This is a simple thing that each person can do to do their part.
Fundamentally remarkable, I think, on all levels, because it essentially memorializes Grace's story and the broader picture, which is to awaken mankind and humanity away from the medical murder for profit complex and into a true state of balance, vitality, and wellness with the Holy Spirit, which I think Jesus came to teach us how to get back into. And I think fundamentally, when we were created in the garden, that was the entirety of the point of our existence in those days, right? Was to frolic with one another and delight in the balance between ourselves and with God, our creator above. And with that, Mr. Schara, I want to close
Well,
on
that's
that. Oh, please continue. I'm sorry.
Well, no, you're right on, and I know you want to close on that, and I want to close on it very strongly because that's true. Then Satan entered the garden, and everything into disarray, and we've been in disarray ever since. Jesus said Satan is. So what does that look like? Well, in our September 3rd program that we have booked, I'm going to drill that standards of care versus standards of death. If we drill that down, I'm going to show has used the Hippocratic us, and God warned us with the Hippocratic Oath. God also warned us in Revelation 18 when he said that of the world will deceive with their pharmakia. So God warned us ahead of time. Satan is doing a fantastic of convincing us and pharmakia man God. And I'm going to peel that back on September 3rd.
Amen, my friend. And we eagerly await it here on the Q News Patriot. For folks out there, if you'd like to get involved and check out the movie, perhaps reserve tickets for you, your friends, family, or neighbors, you can navigate to the links in the description below the video, or you can rewind the video up on recording and pause it and navigate to the URLs in that way if you would like to. Mr. Schara, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on with such short notice. I know that we have a bit of a deadline to achieve the necessary amount of ticket sales to offer the screenings, but fundamentally, I believe that we will get there as patriots and as we the people everywhere. It really is about converting the world to we the people, indivisible, one nation, under God again. It's been an honor to have you, sir. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, God bless you. Thanks for having me again, too.
And for the audience, I'll be back with each of you again soon on the Q News Patriot. Stay safe. Stay well, everyone. God bless. Bye-bye.